Okay. So here we go with. We're getting towards the end. Let's see. Hold on. Just go through. 412 more acts, and you guys are out here. Okay. Please welcome Mr. Steve Levin. Let's hear it for Steve.
I know what you're thinking. The thin build, the sloping shoulders, the nerdy clothes. Another jock turned comedian. Well, the fact is, I'm really not that hip a person. I don't have hip clothes. I don't have hip friends. I didn't go to a hip college. Give you an idea how unhip my college was. I was the big man on campus. Then I used to be hip. In fact, I was very hip, but back in the 60s, I was really into it as a baby. I remember I had bell-bottom diapers, platform booties, a water crib. Needless to say, it was a double. Other kids had teething rings, I had a teething mood ring. When I was born, the doctor didn't slap me. He slapped me 5. And I was hip to current events, too. I remember when I got my immunization card for kindergarten. I burned it. In protest, I used to pledge allegiance with my left hand over my chest. I used to spell America with a K, which counts as being in protest, even if you're not doing it on purpose. I knew I was far more progressive than the other kids. I was the only kid making spitballs out of recycled paper. Yeah, their sneakers said like left and right. Of course, mine both said left. But being so hip, it was difficult to get along with the other kids. Like, I didn't play the same games they did. They played house. I played commune. They played doctor. I played holistic health practitioner. They're coloring books of the 3 Little Pigs. Mine wrote the Chicago 7. Now, I was the only kid spray painting by number. I couldn't even play G.I. Joe with them. I mailed mine to Canada. Eating was so difficult to do. Very few places stopped macrobiotic candy dots. Remember the names kids used to call each other? Like Four Eyes or Fraidy Cat? I'd call someone Imperialist Stooge for the multinationals. I had the only rank house they had to look up. I used to listen to Mother Goose records backwards to hear the hidden messages. Actually, Mother Goose is where I really first developed my social consciousness. Like, I heard about the old woman who lived in a shoe. I wanted to know why she didn't have better housing. Remember that guy who had to jump over candlesticks? More funding for sports programs. I heard about the big bad wolf. I thought he was probably just misunderstood. I was the first kid to ever call for water gun control. Water guns were so easy to get. You could walk into a 5 and 10 and get them. There was no background check. You get ammunition in any hallway. I really wanted to get rid of the most dangerous water gun, the Saturday morning special. I tried telling the other kids about the movement, about liberation, to never trust anyone over 10. I told them that they could live in a society where there was no such thing as size place. A society where they could exit a room at the end of the day and leave the chairs on the floor. And most of all, a society where they could talk to the neighbor. Yeah, this was my famous I have a nap speech. Gradually I began making progress with them, like the girls burned their bibs, the guys let their peach fuzz grow. Thanks to me, the milk monitor and clothing monitor unionized. It was the only kindergarten with collective bargaining. For the first time, we began to question a lot of things that previously we taken for granted. Like what was so wrong about looking like a cow chewing his cud? And sharing was nowhere near as much fun as the teacher said it was going to be. And every day there was another incident of crossing guard brutality. And there were no jobs available. I couldn't get a job as milk monitor. I couldn't get a job as clothing monitor. And I was a nursing school graduate. I was passed over for being blackboard monitor for someone with far fewer qualifications. It's who you know. And the gifted children, they seemed to get everything we didn't. Remember those telephones we'd make out of 2 cups and a string? Well, theirs came with automatic redial. We began to engage in acts of civil disobedience, like we wouldn't do what Simon said. We'd color outside the lines. I once brought in a snack and didn't have enough for everybody. One time we went on a play stoppage, completely shut down the blocks area. It was 100% effective, except one kid, little Johnny, crossed the picket line to finger paint. That night there was a suspicious fire in Johnny's diorama. One time we had a sit-in at the principal's office. We had one demand: relevancy in our coursework. No more show and tell. This was the 60s. We wanted expose and denounce. Yeah, we were out there chanting, "Hell no, we won't grow." Finally, we wouldn't get out and call the cops and started lobbying and tear gas like that had a benefit, like that was going to make a difference. We were already crying. Well, we saw that talk and reason were getting us nowhere, and it was time for an action that these people would understand. We decided we'd go on a frenzied rampage that would tear down everything in our paths, destroy all forms of capitalism, and leave nothing but destruction in our wake. And we were going to do that right after nap time. I put a book together, a guide of tips and techniques for revolution. I called it Steal This Book Report. Unfortunately, the whole thing fell apart when one of the dumber kids in the group went to ask a teacher what a frenzied rampage was. The teachers knew I was behind the whole thing. Once I went to make a phone call, my string was tapped. Years later, we had a reunion of sorts, and I knew I was still far different from them. For one thing, they got bigger. And about all that talk of revolution and new society, I was so disappointed with how many sold out. I mean, fully half of them went on to the first grade. I was sorry to hear about little Sally, though. She OD'd on strain peas. Thank you.
Randy Levin.
Steve Levin.
Steve Levin. I'm sorry. Randy was my high school friend. Steve Levin. That's right. So,